Hello, Stingrays. This presentation is the Beacon presentation for the 2021-2022 school year. Beacon is a long-standing tradition here in Duval County. For upwards of 30 years, the Beacon presentation has been given to senior classes every single year. So Beacon stands for Bringing Economic and Career Opportunities Nearer. Let's jump right into the presentation. What we'll talk about today is your post-secondary timeline. So post-secondary being after you graduate high school, and the timeline that you're in right now for preparing for those post-secondary options. Additionally, we'll talk about federal student aid and Bright Futures. Here's your post-secondary timeline. So beginning at the top, starting sometime this summer to about right now, July to October, you should be working on these things listed here. So meet with your counselor to complete your senior credit check. We did that through senior English classes at the beginning of October. If you were absent or missed that time that we were in your class, either you can catch up with us or know that we are going back through and determining who we've not spoken with, and we'll be pulling you in to talk with you and go over with your senior credit check. But also during this time, you should be narrowing down your post-secondary list, whether you are planning to enlist in the military or apply to some vocational schools or colleges. Your list should be down to a manageable number of places that you are submitting an application to. Organize your post-secondary application process. So know when your applications are due and what items or additional documents will have to be submitted along with the application. Draft and finalize your college essay if that applies. Ask for letters of recommendation if needed. Understand how to request your transcripts. Submit applications and documents by the required deadline. That's very important. You should be creating or have already created your FSA ID, both you and your parent, and we'll talk a little bit more in a minute about what that is. Submit your FAFSA application. This opened up on October 1st, and we'll talk a little bit more about FAFSA in a moment. Submit your Bright Futures application. This also opened October 1st. Be determining your plans for retaking the SAT, ACT, register and complete. So if you need to retake that test, create your plan. How much time do you need to study? Set your sights on a test that you can register for and get it done. And then lastly, you should be applying to scholarships. So whether you're going to a vocational school or college, you'll need money to pay for it. And so that's really what this presentation is also about, how to fund your college endeavor. So from about this time, October or so to January, not listed here, but what could be continued is submitting applications and documents. So let's say you didn't have a November 1st deadline. Some deadlines are November 15th, December 1st, December 15th, maybe even into January. Some schools have application deadlines that go all the way until March. So if you're still submitting documents, then we could certainly be working on that during that time. Attend a financial aid night. So we already had ours on October 5th, but the other high schools around Duval County Public Schools, some of them may not have had theirs just yet. And so you could go to their financial aid night as well, since that information is the same regardless of what high school you came from. Apply for scholarships. Meet with a recruiter. So if you are looking at the military, this is about the time we should be meeting with a recruiter. The ASVAB is coming up November 15th. You can take that test, and that would be something that you'll need to do. Submit any remaining post-secondary applications. Earn your first semester credits. So it's easy to start looking into the future and getting excited about those plans and maybe neglecting or not being as diligent as you have been in your courses. So let's stay on top of our coursework and earn those semester credits so we can stay on track for graduation. And turn in any community service forms to your school counselor or hours to your school counselor. Remember, community service is not required for graduation. So this would be for Bright Futures scholarship, or if there are other scholarships you're applying for that you would need to have community service hours logged on your transcript. Finally, from January till May, keep applying for scholarships. Every single month, we should be applying to maybe 3 to 5 if we're college bound. Receive those acceptances, hopefully acceptances. There might be some denials or wait lists, but you'll start receiving those decisions on whatever day the college has determined that they will be letting students know what the decision is. Review your financial aid packages. So once you have received a decision, the college that you have been accepted into will also give you information about what financial aid they're able to offer you. And this information is all based on the FAFSA. So you've got to complete it regardless of whether you think your family has financial need to complete that FAFSA application. Even those institutions, for them to give you funds, financial aid, they need to know what your EFC, the estimated family contribution, is. And that number is only generated by the FAFSA. And sometimes they even for merit-based scholarships, so not the ones that are need-based, based on financial need from the family, but merit-based scholarships, they even will still want to have a FAFSA on file, as this is data that they track and record. You need to earn your second semester credits. Make your post-secondary decision. This is exciting. So May 1st is officially National Decision Day. Most colleges will have your deadline to let them know whether or not you plan to enroll and submit a deposit will be May 1st. Some may be a little sooner than that, but we need to be making those decisions officially. Complete your senior survey. This will be done in your English classes sometime in April. So this informs us where we need to send your final transcript once those are ready, about mid-June. And then review your Bright Futures eligibility. This is a resource we've created for you. So going back to your senior timeline, when we talked about right now, you should be organizing your post-secondary application process. This would be a great tool. It's posted on our school website underneath the school counseling tab. We created a new section called resources and forms. And so you'll find this on that. And you can get yourself organized. So you can print as many copies of these. It's also fillable, and you can just keep it electronically, but you can record where it is you're applying to, whether it's the military, a vocational school, or college. Track your deadline. And then any items that would need to be submitted, you could list those there. You may not fill up every line. We tried to provide as many lines as we thought would be needed for additional documentation. So you may not fill every line, but you'll fill in the things that you need to submit and then check them off when completed. So this would be a great way to have it all in one place. And so now we're going to transition into watching a couple of videos on the FAFSA.
If you're interested in financial aid for college or career school, you're going to need to fill out the free application for Federal Student Aid, or FAFSA. It takes most people about 30 minutes to complete online, and the best part, it's 100% free, and it provides you with access to grants, loans, and work-study funds from the federal government. And many colleges and states use FAFSA information to provide their own college or state financial aid. Before you fill out the FAFSA, it's a good idea to create your FSA ID, a username and password that lets you electronically sign your FAFSA and gives you access to various websites related to federal student aid. And here's an important tip. If your parent is providing information on your FAFSA, he or she will need his or her own FSA ID. Visit studentaid.gov/FSA ID for more information. Your FAFSA can be completed online at FAFSA.gov, and help is provided throughout the online application process. You will need to fill out the FAFSA each year you are in school because your financial situation may change. Plus, you may be able to automatically transfer your tax data from the IRS, making the application even quicker to fill out. Each state and college or career school sets its own deadline for the FAFSA, so it's best to get it done early. Since some of the funds are available on a first-come, first-served basis, you don't want to miss out. Now that you know about the FAFSA, you might be asking, well, how much money will I get? Your college or career school will do the math, and there's a simple formula that they use. First, the college takes your cost of attendance, which is the total amount it will cost you to go to that school. Your cost of attendance will vary from school to school. Then, the college subtracts your expected family contribution, or EFC, Your EFC is based on information provided in your FAFSA and will not change based on the school you attend. However, the EFC is not necessarily the amount of money you will have to pay. Basically, your cost of attendance minus your EFC equals your financial need. Your college uses your financial need and other information to determine how much financial aid you can receive. See? Pretty simple. If you have questions or need more information, please visit studentaid.gov. If you need help paying for college or career school, the Office of Federal Student Aid might be your best option. We offer more than $150 billion to students each year in the form of grants, loans, and work-study funds. And federal student aid can be used to pay for school expenses, such as tuition, room and board, and books and supplies. After you've filled out the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, you'll receive an award letter from each school you list on your FAFSA. This letter explains both the federal and non-federal financial aid options that a school is offering you. So let's talk about federal aid. If you qualify for and receive a federal grant, you won't have to repay the money. That will definitely help offset the cost of school, but you may still need additional help. If so, a federal student loan might be your answer. Remember, a student loan is just like any other loan. It's borrowed money that will have to be repaid with interest. If you plan to take out a loan, consider federal student loans first. Compared to private student loans, federal student loans often have lower fixed interest rates and offer many benefits that you won't find otherwise. For example, when it's time for you to repay your federal student loan, your loan servicer can work with you to find the best repayment plan for your individual needs. Plus, you may be able to adjust your loan payments based on your income. You also may be able to defer your federal loan payments, deduct student loan interest on your taxes, and even consolidate your eligible federal student loans into one loan with one monthly payment. Federal loans can even be forgiven based on certain types of employment. Getting a work-study job is another great option to help pay for school. Eligible undergraduate and graduate students will be able to earn at least minimum wage. If you have questions or need assistance, you can contact the financial aid office at your college or career school or visit studentaid.gov for more information.
I hope you found those videos to be very helpful and informative. The FAFSA is something that some students seem to be overwhelmed by, or maybe even think that they don't need to submit this application. So let's talk about reasons why you should apply. First of all, colleges require it. You may actually find out later on that in order to complete your registration process, so after you have enrolled, you've submitted a deposit, and now you're registering for courses, you may have a hold on your registration because you have not completed the FAFSA application. So that would be frustrating. So many colleges are going to require that you've done that before you can even register for courses or to receive any institutional aid. They may have some merit-based scholarships that they can award you, but they need to have a FAFSA on file. So now is the time to go ahead and get it done. The other reason that you should apply is it determines your eligibility for many types of financial aid. As discussed in the types of financial aid available, it's going to review potentially for loans, which we all know is something that you want to have as a very last resort for paying for college. But those Pell Grants, which are need-based, work-study programs, a lot of different things, like I said, institutional application or scholarships and financial aid that could be offered, it would be part of the eligibility factor and decision. The other thing to note is that really October 15th is the priority deadline. So what that means is whatever you may be eligible for, if you get your application in sometime between October 1st to 15th, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the maximum amount of money for whatever you are eligible for. So at this point, we are about half, maybe a month or so beyond that time. And a lot of the money that is awarded is first come, first serve. So now's the time to go ahead and also get this complete. And lastly, it's just a small investment of your time, 30 minutes or so to complete. but potentially this has a high return. So for 30 minutes of your time, you may be awarded thousands of dollars to pay for college. So it's something that is very worthwhile to do. And some of the common myths are that, well, my parents make too much money for me to be eligible. And that might be true for some of the grant money. But again, for merit-based scholarships coming from the institution that you may be accepted to, they may still require that you have this FAFSA on file. And so you need to complete it anyways. You may think my grades aren't high enough to receive financial aid. In some cases, for those needs-based scholarships, your grades aren't even a factor. If you've been accepted into college, and you need funds to pay for it based on need, you may be eligible. And so that wouldn't be something that should stop you from completing the FAFSA. The application is hard and confusing. They have streamlined it so much, especially with that IRS data retrieval tool, which allows you just to import your IRS tax information directly into the form. Saves a lot of time, makes it a lot less tedious. And then finally, I haven't been accepted to college yet. Well, if you're putting in applications, you're planning to go somewhere and you're going to need money to pay for it. So regardless of whether or not you've been accepted, you've received your acceptances, you already know that it's in your future regardless, and you're going to need money to pay. So we need to go ahead and get it done. Here are the steps. You and your parent, these first two steps, are to create an FSA ID. We've put the website here, but we also have a handy guide that we'll make available on our website to walk you through the videos on that YouTube channel by the Federal Student Aid Office on how to create an FSA ID. And then you'll do the FAFSA application. So you and your parent will complete this application together and sign it with your FSA IDs that you created in step 1 and 2. And then that's it. You wait for your decision. So your student aid report will come to you within 3 to 5 days if you provided an email address during the application. Or if not, and it comes to you via US mail, you'll get it within 7 to 10 days. Let's shift gears and talk about Bright Futures. So we have mentioned this already in our senior credit check video that we created, but the Bright Futures scholarship is a great option. And what you're looking at right here is the Florida Academic Scholar and the Florida Medallion Scholar designations. So the Academic Scholar has some higher criteria. You must meet the GPA requirement, the testing requirement, and the community service hours listed right here. But the award for public schools is 100% of your tuition and applicable fees. If you attend a private school, it'll be a dollar amount per credit hour at that private school. And then the Florida Medallion has a lower requirement threshold, and this pays 75% of your tuition and applicable fees. The Gold Seal requires some different requirements, and this would be for a vocational school. This is something that not very many of our students are utilizing. There are some courses that you have to have taken in vocational areas in order to get this scholarship. So if you have questions about this, if you're looking at a vocational school, come talk with your counselor. You have a blue sheet of paper in your packet that was handed out to you. And what we're going to do here in just a moment is everybody is going to complete the Florida financial aid application. This will be your application for Bright Future Scholarship, but it also applies you to up to 15 other scholarships here in the state of Florida. So if you don't meet those thresholds for Bright Futures, don't worry about that. You can still meet some of the other requirements in some of these other scholarships. So we might as well go ahead and put in the application. We're all going to do this together. This is a step-by-step guide, and it will take us maybe 10 minutes time. And something that I want to clear up, because some students get a little concerned that if they submit the application before they have finished logging their hours, or maybe their test scores aren't quite where they are, need to be, they're worried that they'll submit an application and get a denial and that'll be it. That's not how it works. So think of Bright Futures application and scholarship kind of like a checklist of items. We have to submit an application. Our test scores have to be where they need to be. GPA needs to be where they need to be. Hours need to be logged and turned in. All of this has to happen by June of your graduating year. So what sometimes happens is students think they did the application and then they forget. And I'm the counselor here over the summer, and I'll get phone calls that they've been denied Bright Futures application and they're very confused. And when I look into it, they just forgot to submit an application, which is fixable, but it's a little stress inducing in the summertime. So let's go ahead and do this application, because anything that you can get submitted and ready to meet eligibility requirements by the end of January will not be reviewed until that very first week of June. So they're not even going to review this application and your eligibility until that first week of June. And the data that they're looking at is the data that the district sends over in February. Then they'll look at it again the first week of July, and that will be based off of your final transcript. So everything that you got in by June, those final transcripts are prepared generally around June 15th. They're sent over to Bright Futures, and during that first week of July is when they're going to review that information. So you have from now till February if you want to be in that first wave of students to know what you've been eligible for, or if you have from now until June to know by July that you've received these scholarships. The other thing is, they will always look to give you the highest designation that you were eligible for. So if between now and February you were eligible for medallion, but let's say you take an SAT or ACT sometime in the spring past February, and you end up getting the scores for academic, when they do that second review in July, they will upgrade you to the higher designation. They will never downgrade you or leave you stuck there. Okay, so your counselors will be coming in just a moment, and we'll be submitting that application together. The last thing I want to leave you with is actually that Florida ranks 4th in the nation in total financial aid dollars, meaning the amount of financial aid that is awarded to students in Florida. We spend here in Florida, or what is awarded, is $1.01 billion in total student aid. That's 4th in the nation. That is a huge investment that this state is making in our students. And that is incredible. And we are so fortunate. So let's get these scholarships. Let's not leave anything on the table. Thanks, Stingrays.